What's up, guys? It's Sean from Srkcycles, and I'm going to tell you guys why I hate Indian motorcycles. Cue the intro. Alright, actually, I don't hate Indian motorcycles. I took a lot of heat for our last video of why we don't buy Indian motorcycles anymore, and people completely took it out of context. I actually do like Indian motorcycles. I just had a very weird experience with them. And actually, this is not even an Indian motorcycle. This is actually made by Kawasaki. Real quick, just want to say, Dwayne, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Dwayne's a big fan of the channel. So this is actually not even an Indian motorcycle. This is a Kawasaki. This is a Kawasaki Vulcan Drifter. And it's kind of a strange bike. I think it's awesome looking. It came in an 800 and it came in a 1500. And this is actually a Indian tribute bike. It's supposed to be a tribute to the old Indian chiefs from the 1940s. No one's ever really done anything like that before. I'm not sure why you would. Normally when you think of a tribute thing, you think of like a tribute band or something like that. You know, like where they dress up like Kiss and they're playing Kiss songs. And a lot of times it's where the band might exist, but you know, you like them and you just can't see them very often. Well, in this case, you really couldn't, it's hard to get an Indian, especially a 1940s Indian, and it's hard to get one that's not for less than 30,000 bucks, and that's reliable and that runs super good. But for like $6,000 brand new, you could have bought something like this that looks just like an Indian and has that tribute. Now it is kind of weird that it's an Indian badge on top of a Kawasaki, but it is a super cool looking bike, and it's got some very unique characteristics on this thing, including it's actually a chain drive, which is very unusual for a big cruiser bike like this. You know, it's these giant swooping fenders, the big little Indian logo on the front. I actually heard rumors that Indian sued Kawasaki for this, but I've not been able to confirm that. And when you're looking at, you know, Indians went out of business and went into business and went out of business and then came back in the late 1990s, and it was there for a little bit in the early 2000s, and then went out of business, and then Polaris bought them later. In 2002, when they brought this bike out, Indian was still kind of in business. Well, actually, this bike was brought a little bit earlier, but Indian was still kind of in business, so I'm not sure how that really worked out. It'd be like, you know, Harley putting a Honda badge on one of their bikes. If it was a Harley Davidson definitely would have sued them. That's for sure. This one is an 805cc motor, and it runs great. It's plenty of power. It's a big, full frame bike. Looks awesome, very unique. People will absolutely think it's an Indian because it says Indian on the side. It even looks like it's like kind of like hand painted on there, and it cruises down the highway great. Let's go do a test drive on it. All right, guys, enough of the test drive. Let's do the words of wisdom real quick. John 6:35. Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst." Amen. Let me put on my M1 Moto gloves. One of the only motorcycle gloves out there, and gloves out there, that's lined with Kevlar. Disclaimer, these gloves are not bulletproof. Do not use these gloves to stop bullets. Alright, so when I first rode this bike, and this is not my first time I rode this bike back from when we bought it. When I first rode this bike, I was really impressed. I was like, 800 cc's is plenty. It's a lot of power. And even though this is like a full frame big bike, I mean, I feel I'm 6'2", I'm stretched out. You put your feet up on these pegs. I mean, I could really see myself taking a very long trip on a bike like this. But then thinking about it, like, wow, I'm taking a big long trip on an 800cc. That just seems strange, but it's actually not, because this thing's got everything you could ever ask for. This is such a cool looking bike. It runs awesome. It really does. Pull the choke out, fire it up, put the choke back in, do its thing. I don't know, there's some extra lights on it maybe. I'm not sure if they're stock, if they're not stock, I really don't know. That back stock windshield's nice and good. It really does, the whole Indian thing really does baffle me, but I think it's super cool. There's been people who have modified these things and like painted them like a flat black, and then painted them red on top of that, and they like scuffed it all up so you can see some of the black underneath. just to look like it's real patinaed and antiqued. I love how they do this like drifter solo seat that's kind of hovering over the fender. And if you take the bags out, you just see like miles and miles and miles of big giant fender. I think it's a cool bike, and it's one of those bikes that's so unique. I've never seen one before until this thing's been popping up at a local auction, and I tried to buy it a year ago. Someone else paid more than what I wanted to pay for it, and I guess for some reason they couldn't sell it, but it runs perfect. And that doesn't surprise me that someone else couldn't sell it, and that I think I can sell it, because that tends to happen all the time. I tend to showcase bikes in a different way than most people do. We'll jump on the highway, we'll get on it a little bit, we'll bang through the gears. So I'm cruising, I'm going the speed limit, cruising. It's plenty of power. I could throw my wife on the back, throw my lady friend on the back, same person, one and the same person, and it'd be perfect. With that windshield stopping all the wind in my chest, it's actually surprisingly, and this might differ from different people, but I'm not getting any buffeting on the top of my head at this speed of the speed limit. If you're wondering how fast I'm going the speed limit. Man, kicking up. So it's an 805 cc's. Now later in life, the Kawasaki Vulcan goes to a 900. They stopped at 805 and they go to a 900. Normally, I always felt like the 800s were a little cramped. I don't know why I don't feel that way with this bike. Maybe it's the bars, maybe it's these highway pegs, I don't know. I have loved that classic huge Indian fender type of thing. There's a Honda VTX 1800 that kind of mimicked that same type of flavor, and I just love it. People love it. It's cool. It's big swooping fender. You know, it really does feel like 40s. Honestly, I think this bike is doing more justice to Indians than the Indians that were made in the late 90s. It's probably more, it's definitely more reliable than those Indians. Some of those Indians use an SNS motor, which SNS motors are great, but some of those Indians had a huge major engine issues that you had to pay a lot of money to get them fixed. I forget which one, if it was the Chief or if it was the Scout. So I think this bike is great. Let's jump on the highway and see it move. Is a fake Indian Chief big enough for a man on the highway? That's the big question. If you guys were wondering what I was talking about earlier about my previous video, I got so much hate on that video. I got so much hate. People are like, you're just a Harley fanboy. I'm not a Harley fanboy. I like Indian. Watch any of my other Indian videos. I love Indian. Very smooth. There's 50. There's the highway speed. We still got room. We still got gears left. So right now I'm cruising 60 miles an hour. It just feels perfect. Engine's not winding out. It's not screaming. I'm not even going the speed limit. Let me go a little. Let me just twist out the throttle a little bit. There we go. Go the speed limit. I'm keeping up with traffic, and it just feels and sounds great. It does not feel like you're maxing out the engine or you're topping it out or anything like that. You have plenty of room. I'm sure this thing will hit 100 miles an hour, no problem. I got plenty of power. If I want to pass a truck, I just roll on the throttle. The bike is a fairly light bike, but it does not, I don't feel like I'm getting pushed around or anything like that. And this is a bike that, honestly, anyone could ride this thing. This could be your main bike. This could be a complementing bike, you know, like your second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth bike. Yeah, so guys, this bike is awesome. Really enjoying riding this thing. Oh yeah, if you guys, I mentioned Emwood Mono gloves. These gloves right here, the 508s. Click on the link below. You can see where to buy them. So, this bike looks awesome. Way cheaper than an Indian. People will think you're riding an Indian. It's probably more reliable than the Indians of old, OLE. And it's just it's got a great story to it. It really has a cool story to it. I think that's, who doesn't love telling their story about their bike? How you got it, who made it, why they made it, what the deal with it was, you know. Honestly, because I've never seen one of these before, makes me wonder whether I'll ever see one again. Which makes me wonder, should I just keep it for myself? That wraps up the test drive for the Not Indian Chief. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you guys later. And don't forget to subscribe. This bike is actually currently for sale on Srkcycles.com. So if you're interested to see what the price is, just go check it out. I don't know what the price. I would tell you what the price is if I knew what the price was. But I don't know. We have a lot of bikes. I don't know. I can't know the price of every bike. I'm assuming it's less than $4,000. It's probably a pretty good deal. All of our bikes are really good deals. We'll see you guys later.